This is DJ Former, and right now you're in tune to wordisbond.com.
Well, wordisbond.com, we're here with DJ Former. Welcome.
Hello.
Thank you very much for seeing us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Just wanted to kick off by saying, obviously, how did you start out in the business, etc. And obviously, you did a little bit of tour, like drove the tour bus for Jurassic 5, etc.
Yeah, many years ago. That was in about '98 for their first sort of UK tour. My friend Blue Eyes had sort of set up their tour and just needed someone kind of reliable and that sort of knew their ass from their elbow to drive them around. So yeah, I ended up with that job, looking after J5 and taking Cup Chemist to Newmarket digging just all around the country. So yeah, that was a good job.
Awesome.
But that was kind of that was just like probably where people start in terms of it's like a famous little story that I did that. But obviously, I've been making music since the kind of early '90s, just doing my own thing at home and just learning the ropes. I was sort of DJing since the very late '80s or early '90s, and yeah, it was just a natural progression. But that seems to be the starting point for a lot of people. Like, you drove the tour bus. So.
And then not soon after that, obviously your own stuff started to come out, and you toured with the guys for doing their own stuff.
Yeah, that's to be honest, that's a little bit later, but yeah. So there was a lot of hard work and stuff in the meantime. But yeah, that was kind of 2003 that I toured around Europe with J5. Yeah.
Any wild stories or anything crazy that happened? Those sorts of things.
Not really wild.
Nice and calm and stuff. Or?
Yeah, they're you know what they're like. They're just decent, down to earth guys. They're not nutcases that were smoking crack and getting prostitutes, and there's no stories like that. So I mean, most of the stories really are only interesting to nerds like us that want to hear about records. So, funnily enough, the story we were just sharing about digging in Heidelberg in a record shop that had floor to ceiling giant shelves that literally had to have a ladder on wheels like at an old library to actually go through and dig through everything. So that's about as wild as it got, I'm afraid. It was all about music and.
What about record spots in the UK? I mean, where do you like to go? Shopping? Any specific names or anywhere, places that you think are good for people to go to?
It's getting harder. It's really hard. I mean, my personal favourite spot. It's called Really Good Records, and it's in Plymouth. So go and see Mike at Really Good guy and Really Good Records. Always getting interesting collections in, and not just your run-of-the-mill stuff. So but it's getting harder to find shops where you can actually walk in and find interesting stuff to dig through. Most places, anything that they've got that they think, oh, what's this? This is a bit quirky, could be interesting. Don't really know anything about it, they put it on the internet, they put it on eBay, and they take a chance. So from that point of view, it's disappointing, but equally I kind of respect that the world's a changing place. Record shops have to move with the times in order to pay their bills. So.
Have you stepped up as well yourself and gone more internet buying these days as well as doing shops?
I mean, to be honest, in the last 8 to 10 years, I've definitely got more records from the internet. Gradually, more and more given up the idea of I just want to dig in shops, which is what I used to do. I really was quite reluctant of using the internet at first, but it's okay digging online if I know what I'm looking for and I can search for stuff. But I don't really like to just try and discover breaks online by somebody saying, fat, dope, hip hop beat, MP3, fat, jazzy samples, Because half the time they're describing something, as if it's the best thing you've ever heard. And of course, when you actually listen to it, it's a load of rubbish, and it gets a little bit frustrating. And I want the excitement of going out and just using my own common sense, looking through a pile of weird records and just pulling out something for a random reason. And hey, maybe when I check it, it's got something interesting on there. That's sort of. It's a thrill of the chase, isn't it? If someone just does all the hard work for you, just there you go, there's a great record. It's not quite the same.
And on the subject of records, I mean, how big is your record collection as it stands at the moment?
It's not. It's funny. It's not like monstrously big. It's like there's a lot of records. I mean, I've probably got more than what I hear. Probably quite a lot more, but you know, it's not like, you know, DJ Shadow who's got, you know, hundreds of thousands of records. It's not like that. I'm quite realistic about it. You know, I go through my records quite a lot and sort of, you know, make sure I'm checking through. You know, you can't play everything all the time, of course, but there's some stuff that I'll literally go through and I'll think, right, I've literally not played that record for 5 years. When am I really going to listen to that? Do I need it? You know, I'm quite happy to trim down the collection, because if you've just got, I don't know, thousands and thousands and thousands of records just for the sake of it, it does get to the point where you just lose track.
In all your work that you've done so far, primarily by media, etc., you've been sort of labelled as a hip-hop DJ.
Yeah.
But at the same time, a lot of your work, though, is based in sort of things like mixing and scratching, etc. Which are fundamental hip-hop elements. But you see yourself more as a general musician, as well as just rather than just being pigeonholed into that, because there's so many different musical genres that you explore, and all the different mixes you've done through your career. Like that.
I'm personally really glad you picked up on that, because ultimately I am first and foremost a hip hop DJ, because that's the style, you know, b-boy style. You know, I cut up records, and you know, I come from a hip hop background. I do play at least 50% hip hop, probably, and certainly as a producer, I make hip hop, but I also delve into other genres a little bit. But generally speaking, as a DJ, to be called just a hip hop DJ is a little bit tricky for me, because I do play so much stuff that's so far removed from hip hop, but you know, I can't complain.
One of the great things about hip hop at the same time. It opens you up to a massive avenue of different.
Exactly. Well, if you listen to if you're an open-minded, you know, if you've got the old b-boy mentality, you know, the proper hip hop way, you know, it encompasses all kinds of different music. You know, we sample whatever attracts the ear. Just okay, there's a good little loop, there's a good beat. That's how hip hop started, right? And you end up playing rock and Latin and soul and funk being the more obvious ones. But you do find yourself delving into weirder and weirder genres, trying to find that little magical moment, and somehow putting it in with a hip hop set when you DJ.
So you've got 2 releases that were production from yourself. Music from the Mutual, B-Boy, and If You Can't Join the B-Boy. You collaborated quite predominantly with Abdominal on those projects. What's it like working with him? How did you get involved with working with Abdominal? And the whole, how did that all occur and come about?
It was just a bit of good fortune. I was digging in Toronto in about 2000, or possibly 2001, and it was just pure chance that I met a record dealer, and he said, you know, check out this record of some local guys that I'm releasing, and it just happened to be Abdominal's first record with DJ Fades, and it was fantastic. And straight away, you know, I heard something in this guy that I thought, you know, he would really work with the kind of music that I'm trying to do. So that was really the connection. So obviously this record dealer that became my good friend Aaron Keel, you know, he kind of hooked me up with Abdominal, and we just started talking on the phone, and then I would send him, you know, this is back, like I say, 10 years ago, I was sending him cassette tapes of little beat ideas, and, you know, then he'd talk down the phone, you know, do some raps down the phone, you know, and, you know, that's how we kind of built things up like that. You know, he's always been a pleasure to work with, and we obviously, you know, we just had that little bit of chemistry together. So I'm really kind of looking back on that stuff with fond memories, but at the same time, having done quite a few songs together over the course of the 2 albums, and then I produced some songs for Abdominal's solo album as well, Escape from the Pigeonhole, a few years back. We kind of both felt like we're probably starting to repeat ourselves a little bit, so we're both going to go off and do, you know, work with other people. I mean, we were always free to work with other people anyway, but we thought, okay, let's go off, do our own things, you know, see how things lie in a few years, or when we've done our current projects, and then you know, never say never. We may well do some more stuff together. I hope we do.
As a DJ, what's your response to newer technologies that are coming out for people's sets, etc.? I use Serato and other things. And that. What's your views on these sorts of technologies? Do you use them yourself?
I don't. Not Serato. I've always stuck to vinyl, and I think that started out more, you know, for me, I I was sticking to vinyl more out of sort of stupidity and ignorance, because I'm not very good with technology, so I don't want to have to learn another bit of software. It's hard enough making music, with an Apple Mac. I used to just use Akai S950s and everything was simple, but then I had to learn a whole new set of programs. I'm not good with all that stuff. So when Serato came out and everyone was switching over to it, it slightly freaked me out that it seemed to be the death of vinyl. But equally, I just thought, I don't want to have to learn something else. I'll stick to my vinyl. But then it got to the point where it had such an impact. Now there's hardly anyone using vinyl. When I travel around DJing, I don't want to sound corny, but I feel like I get an extra bit of respect or an extra bit of credit from other DJs. They're almost apologising, like, oh yeah, I'm doing my Serato thing, and almost giving me a bit of extra respect for the fact that I am using vinyl. So I don't know, at the end of the day, music is music, whether it's coming off of Serato or you're playing CDs or vinyl, but it's just something where now I've got to the point where it feels like, no, I've got to uphold the hip-hop tradition, and hey, there's, I don't make the rules. Anyone can use Serato, do what the hell they like, but for me, I'm going to stick to vinyl for the time being. I don't have any plans to change that, and yeah.
And moving on, we were talking about equipment that you use. What sort of equipment are you using these days when it comes to production-wise?
Yeah, production-wise, I'm now pretty much just using an Apple Mac with Logic, and to be honest, the kind of, not secret, I was going to say the secret to what I do, hey, it's no secret, but the way that I work, the most important thing in the way that I make my music is the records that I'm sampling.
You've had your two, we talked about your 2 albums earlier,
Yeah.
And then you've done quite a few mixes since then for various people. You've done the Fabric Live mixes,
That's right,
you've done the Holy Shit mix with Mr. Thing as well, as well as the James Brown when he did the album. So obviously now are you coming up to that point where you're going to be releasing new material at some point?
Yeah, good timing, good question. Right now, I'm just getting ready to release my 3rd album, my new album. It's going to be the 27th of February, and it's called Statement of Intent. It's my little statement of intent, I guess. Like to say I'm back and I'm in business, or something like that. It's always hard trying to find a good title. But yeah, so that's going to be out, like I say, at the end of February. It's going to feature Edom, it's going to feature Mr. Liff, Sure Shot LaRock, the MC that I worked with a little while ago doing Dope Pusher, and Mr. DJ, he's on like 6 tracks on the album. Phil Most Chill, fantastic old school MC. And then I've got musical collaborations with the Nostalgia 77 Quintet and the Simon Sound.
If You Can't Join the Beat came out in 2005.
That's right, yeah.
So it's been quite a large gap.
Yeah.
For everyone, but have you just decided, obviously you've done your mixes, you've toured and all the other sort of stuff, have you decided just to take your time a little bit more to work on things, just develop a bit more?
Yeah, I've got to just say that I can only do things as quickly as I can naturally do them. I mean, I wasn't very, after I sort of toured the album in 2005, I kind of spent the year going through that whole cycle. When you're signed to a reasonable sized record label, you do get sucked into this whole way of thinking, and 3 singles from the album and 3 tours that go with it, and I guess I needed kind of a bit of a rest from that, and then I just, when I kind of approached doing my new album, I guess I just was lacking in a bit of inspiration and wasn't quite sure which way to go. So that's when I got together with, as I just mentioned, my friend Simon. We started out trying to do some kind of mixing sort of 50s and 60s electronics and old Moog synthesizers and stuff like that, with the samples I was using, drums and stuff like that, and it became clear quite early on that it was something that was a bit different to a DJ format thing. It had to be its own thing. So I kind of went off with Simon and we just did a whole album as the Simon Sound. We released a couple of 7 inches ourselves, and we released an album eventually in 2010, which was called Reverse Engineering. So I was kind of busy doing that, and all the while I was still making hip hop. I was still doing stuff now and again, but I'd also tried recording stuff with live bands, and I was really just experimenting and seeing where I wanted to go, because I just didn't quite have my sort of definite direction, you know, as well, wanting to do stuff without Abdominal, you know, working with different people. I hadn't really settled on who I wanted to even work with, you know, which MCs, and it wasn't really till I met Sure Shot La Rock in 2009, I would say, that things fell into place, because Sure Shot was like this, you know, this MC that I've been looking for all this time without knowing it. There, you know, I just found him and we just connected, and instantly we had this great understanding. So he kind of gave me my focus back and my sort of inspiration back. Like, right, I'm making songs for this guy. I know exactly what I want to be doing. And then, you know, other things started to fall into place with the album, and it just took as long as it did, because yeah, I'm a bit of a perfectionist and yeah, a bit OCD, as I like to joke. But right now, I've just got the test pressings back like 2 days ago, and I couldn't be happier. You know, I really do feel 100% happy and proud of the album, and yeah, I just can't wait for people to hear it. And even if the feedback is awful and everyone says, hey, what the hell was that load of rubbish, I can still put my hand on my heart and say it was the best I could do, and I personally believe in it. It's exactly what I wanted to make, and I stand by it 100%. Yeah.
What hip hop music or specific musicians do you always find sort of really inspired you from back when you were younger,
yeah,
when you were first starting out, and also stuff that you're really feeling now? What things?
Yeah, there's a lot from when I was growing up. That's most of my hip hop influences and inspiration really comes from, yeah, the kind of really the big period for me is probably kind of like 86, 85, 86 through to about 95. That's the period for me when hip hop was the most, you know, exciting for me, because, you know, I kind of got into it in a big way, kind of 86, 87. So obviously you go back and, you know, backtrack, and yeah, I'm into stuff, hip hop from day one, right through to, you know, the odd thing, you know, in modern times. But it's not the same for me now, you know. It's like, I still find people that inspire me. And Edon, that I finally got to work with on this album, you know, he's for me the most influential, inspirational person of the last kind of 10, 15 years, for me personally. So to be working with him is incredible, and also Mr. Liff, you know, big fan of some of his music as well. So yeah, to be working with those guys, they're kind of like my main inspiration now. But a lot of the other people I do tend to listen to are more like Sure Shot La Rock, someone that is my age, and kind of, we've very much got the same influences. We're kind of, yeah, I don't want to say that we're stuck in our own little time warp or our own little world, but there's less and less stuff that interests me now. But hey, we were just talking about Action Bronson earlier, you know, he's coming out with some amazing stuff. I mean, there's still plenty of people making good music. It's just a little bit harder to find it amongst all the rubbish these days. So just got to.
Obviously, the internet sort of giving people the opportunity to blow up so much.
Yeah,
and
they're
be
just
heard so easily.
And it's not down to the quality of your music. Sometimes it can be how good you are at marketing yourself. You know, people are all over Facebook and Twitter and all that kind of thing. And before you know it, a hell of a lot of people know about them, but musically they're not really doing anything that, you know, is too clever. So.
I think that's it for this evening. Thank you very much for your time.
Cheers. Nice to talk to you, Chris.